Hi everybody, Beth here, and today I wanted to propose / talk about something that I noticed in relation to Bendy and the Ink Machine, which is how did Joey Drew survive the Hays Code? Now, you might be wondering, what is the Hays Code? I will get into this. The Hays Code itself was also known as the Motion Picture Production Code, which basically were a set of moral guidelines that told films what they could and could not do. These were rigidly enforced in the 1930s, basically from 1934 to 1968, and if you didn't follow the rules, you didn't get the piece of paper that lets you distribute into theaters. So, that's kind of a big one. Now, there were cases of people being able to bypass the code, but most, if not all of the cases took place in the latter half of the code's lifetime, and also were more for live action films. So there weren't really cases of an animation studio kicking down the door and being like, yo, I know my main character is a demon, but you gotta let him through, yo. Or the equivalent of that. Now, one of the big rules, and the reason kind of why I'm thinking about it, is because one of the big rules that, like, regardless of context or anything, is that they don't allow ridicule of the clergy. Now, yes, technically Bendy doesn't ridicule the clergy. In fact, compared to other 1930s cartoons, the Bendy cartoons are super, super tame. But this is also the same guidelines that prevented Porky Pig from kissing his girlfriend after a date and required every female character to wear a dress or wear pants. So it's not like there was leeway any which way. And we know from the books and from the tapes that Joey's studio lasted for quite a long time, and also during the big years of the Hays Code. The tapes and the shorts mention 1929. The book mentions that the studio's going into like 1946 and that time frame. So pretty much, yeah, how did Joey get away with this? Now, there are a couple of options and maybe even some workarounds that the Kindly Beast and the Meatly and everybody can take a look at and kind of figure out how to implement for the Dark Revival, even though, yeah, technically the Dark Revival's not a prequel or a sequel or Bendy and the Ink Machine 2, but it'd be kind of nice to see Joey Drew Studios kind of mention the whole how we got away with the censors kind of thing. And so let's just go through that. First option. The first option would be that Joey's basically lying. He's lying about the success of Bendy. He's lying about how well the studio's doing, which would be kind of in character for Joey, at least that we see through the tapes and such. So he's lying about it. He's like, oh no, it's totally fine. We're totally filling them seats. Yeah. But, there's people who are going home at the end of the day to their families and to their outside world. So it's not like, news would be well hidden about how bad Bendy's doing. And also, that kind of comes into the same realm of Joey paying off or bribing individuals and being like, hey, censor dude, I'll give you $100. Let me go. Let me showcase my darling demon to the masses. That doesn't work either. Especially wouldn't work after like a year or two. It also kind of, that not working for a year would also apply to the other idea, which would be Joey just basically distribute them himself. This is only going to work 1 or 2 times, and then, you're not going to be able to do it without like heavy fines or just your studio being shut down. However, there are ways to work around it. However, we could imply that the world that Joey Drew Studios exists in and the world of Bendy and the Ink Machine exists, where the Hays Code either doesn't exist or it actually started being enforced later on in the time frame, or even because of Joey Drew's failures. They brought up this code being like, hey, no demons. No demons, no kissing, no criminals. That's all we ask. Which would actually be a really interesting kind of way, and a little kind of spooky. It's like, oh yeah, Joey Drew Studios kind of had more lasting effects than just collapsing and a bunch of employees going missing, but I digress. The other option is that we kind of play a little bit with the first couple of options where Joey's lying about the successes of Bendy. He's also screwing the rules by either bribing or just going ahead and distributing the shorts himself. And when the censors come in, and when the people from the Hays Code when they come from the Motion Pictures Production Association, they come in. He's like, oh yeah, let's just come into my office. We'll talk about this. I'm so sorry. And then he sacrifices them to the machine. Admittedly, this one kind of relies on the fact that, nobody would file a police report. Nobody would connect the dots that, it seems strange. All of these censors just keep disappearing when we send in them Joey Drew Studios. And he keeps doing the same thing again and again. Is there a correlation? Nah. And as it would pertain to, like, inside the studio, there's a group of lost ones, searchers, or something, even failed clones of Boris and Charlie and the Butcher Gang, that are the censors. You got this group of these guys who, like, yeah, they're spooky, they're scary, but they really don't care what you do. It's like, they have no qualms with you. They have no benefits for you. They're just like, yep, you are a person. You are glowing. So there is that. That would be kind of cool. You can even play with, it's like, oh yeah, we didn't get our memories wiped because Joey cared that much about us. Translation, he didn't care that much about us, and so whatever. But it would be kind of cool to have kind of a, you've got the realm of the demon, you've got the realm of the angel. We could do a goofy little big bad wolf character. It's like, oh yeah, we got the realm of the Boris. You got your spooky Boris with Tom Boris. You got your good boy Boris with Buddy Boris and the Boris in the Dark Survival. You got your scary Boris with the brute Boris at the end of the 4th chapter. And now you got yourself your mob boss, Boris. That's a censor. But that could be a little bit of a stretch. The final idea that I want to talk about, and kind of what the Speedpaint you're seeing right now, is that there's a failed code-approved Bendy and Alice roaming the halls. Have a couple of audio logs where it's like Joey's miffed about the censors. They're basically giving him the ultimatum, being like, hey, you need to fix this, and if you don't, we're going to shut down your studio, or, you're never going to work. You're not going to work. And so he's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to do exactly what you asked, and creates these two characters that are supposed to be kind of like the doppelgangers of Alice and Bendy, and, cut it to him and kind of show him. It's like, yeah, people want Alice and Bendy. Yeah, they don't want these sissy ones. Meh. And so he makes this short, mirror, mirror, the idea being, it's like, Alice and Bendy get trapped in a magic mirror and their doppelgangers are running around, and it's up to Boris to save the day. Our great buddy Boris to save his buddies. And, the code-approved characters doing all of the song and dance numbers, and, Joey's expecting it to fail because, people want Bendy, people want Alice, and then you could either go where they do fail, and Joey continues on his magic little way. You could also have it where it actually succeeds. It does a lot better than Joey wants to admit, where, like, this code-approved Alice and code-approved Bendy are now people want to see more of those two. And Joey refuses to acknowledge that. He refuses to admit that maybe he has to move on from Bendy and Alice and Boris. And so he kind of digs his heels in and decides, obviously, the most rational thing to do is to summon my demon character and prove to the censors or whoever and be like, nah, 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 nah. I win. I brought my cartoon character to life. I know you don't like demons, but guess what? I brought my demons to show ... question mark, profit. And in game you could have, you know, these two characters that are technically failures and technically outcasts, and you could even have them be allies, or you could have them be enemies, or you could just kind of have them be neutral parties where it's like they don't want to hurt anybody, but they're also not afraid of, you know, swinging a wrench and knocking a guy out. But those are just a couple ideas off the top of my head in relation to this idea regarding Bendy and the Ink Machine, Bendy cartoons, and the censorship code that was the motion picture production code. So please feel free to leave your own comments down below, your own theories on either how the Hays Code can be introduced, or talking about these censors, or even, you know, what kind of things you'd like to see in the Dark Revival and other such shenanigans. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed, and have a wonderful rest of the day.